Hello, my name is Darren Thomas, and I am the Director of Educational Research Techniques. In this video, we're going to look at string functions and how you can use them inside Excel VBA. So now we're going to go ahead and go over to the VBA developer. So let's do this. Now this first example is not really all that complicated in my opinion, so I kind of typed everything out already. Now basically, in case you're not familiar with this, when we're talking about a string, we're talking about a text, some sort of line of text or something that's often inside quotation marks. And so there are a lot of different functions inside Excel in general for manipulating text, but we're just going to focus on a few examples inside VBA, which sometimes has slightly different functions compared to what you can do inside the Excel spreadsheet. So we're going to start by giving our subroutine here a name. It's called mod string, modify string. And we're going to dim two lines of string here. So one called text, one called text2. And basically I have two different examples. So the first one is the name of the website here, Educational Research Techniques, in lowercase letters. And the second one here, text2, is the same thing in uppercase letters. Now what we're going to do here is we're going to go through each of these functions here, and they're going to be outputted in a message box. That's what's going to happen here. So the first one has a function called inString. And what happens is that it looks for a certain piece of text within a longer line of text, or a longer string, if you will. So in this first example right here, the instr function is going to look inside my first string here called text, and is going to look for the following, subtext, if you will, of cat, C-A-T. And so the output will tell you at what position inside the string that you will find this CAT at. So that's what's going to happen here. So let's go ahead and run this. We'll do F8. So you can see we declared our dimmed our two variables down below. Text1, text2. You can see it in the locals window down below. Now the first output is going to be a message box where it's going to tell us at what position cat is in our first string called text. So if you can see that, I hope it's clear. You can see it starts at position number 4. So let me see if I can make that clear for you. So if we go back here, if you look at this, E is 1, D is 2, U is 3, and C is position 4. So that's why it's saying position 4. This phrase cat begins at position 4. Now in this next one, in string text again, what's happening is that you can see we have a number 10 here. So what that's telling VBA is skip the first 10 positions or the first 10 letters, and then start looking inside the string text and look for an instance of I. Now the reason I did that is if you look closely, you can see there's at least 2 instances of the letter I in this string. So if I don't put in this number 10, what's going to happen is that it's going to pull this first one. I wanted to pull the second one and tell me the position of the second I. So if we go back here, press F8, we get our output at position 25 is where you would find that second I. So go back here. Now, the next one is UCase. That just means uppercase the letters. So this is going to take the first string that I created called text. And you can see here that this is all clearly not underlined, but it is all clearly lowercase. It's going to take this and it's going to uppercase all these letters. So if we go ahead and do this, you can see now everything is in caps, nice and clear. We go back, and now this is where we have to use my second string variable, that's text2. You can see right here, everything is in all caps. And so the lcase function inside VBA, it lowercases all the letters inside a string. So if I do this now, I'll get the message box here, and you can see everything is in lowercase letters. All right, and so then we end the sub. Now for the next example, it's a little bit more complicated. What we're going to do is we're going to create an array, and then we are going to combine all the different letters in the array into one string. It's a little bit more complicated, and so we need to set up a few things here. So we're going to put in subjoin. Okay, here's the initial part of the code in which we declare our subroutine and also set up our array. So we had to create an array called word. It's going to have, 4 places inside it as a string. And then we created 2 other variables, combine message, which is going to make sense in a minute, and also something called MSG, or message for short, as a string. Now, right here in these 4 lines of code, we are actually setting up the actual letters that we want inside our array here. So it looks like it's 1 row of text, or 4 columns. No, 1 row of text, and each place has 1 or 2 letters. And so then after that, we're going to combine all of this into something called join word. Now the problem with this is that it leaves spaces in between each group of letters here, and so that can be a problem if you want everything to be combined with no spaces in between it. So in order to deal with that particular problem, we have to create a for loop. But let me see if this will work. So if I run this, you can see down here it's very hard to see, very hard to see, but there are clearly spaces in between each row of data from the array. So what we have to do is we have to create a for loop that will deal with this. So that's what we're going to do right now. So here you can see that we now have the for loop set up. So how it works is for I equals 1 to the length of the combined message. So that's going to be Z space WS space C space W, or excuse me, Z space YS, excuse me. So that whatever that length is, if not mid. So the mid function, you tell it what the string is. So that's going to be whatever saved here. And you're going to start in the ith position. So wherever that's at. So first time through, you'll go through position 1, then position 2, whatever. And then it tells you, what do you want me to do when I get there? You take one space, 1 character, 1 length space, if you will. And if that equals a space, then you do the following. You do MSG plus the mid of whatever you were taking. So if I was taking Z, I will take Z. All right. Then if it's a space, I'm just going to get rid of the space. That's what this code is for right here, removing the space, if you will. Then we end the if, then we go to the next I. That's kind of what's happening. It's hard to understand what's going on, but you need to see it. But essentially what's happening here, if the mid does not equal a space, then combine things right here. So, can put them all together. If there is a space there, then ignore it, take it out, is what's happening with this code right here. Now, we're going to run this and see what we can see happen. Oh, one more thing. I'll get an output of a message box just so you can see it. Make it a little bit easier to understand what's going on. So here we go. Start at the top. We declare our variables. We create our array. You can see it right here if you really want. It's right there. We're going to continue our journey up here. So now we go into the for window, or the for loop, excuse me. And so we're going through position 1. And so if you look closely, you can see we put a little Z down here in the message thing. So we're going to keep going now. So we're going to go to the next I. So we're in position 2. You can see nothing happened right here. Nothing's been added because there's a space after the first Z. So now we're going to continue here. Now you can see it added a Y because there's no space there. So we're combining it. We're combining all the things that we're putting together here. And so then it starts to go. You can see it added to S. Position 5 is skipped because there's a space there. Now for position 6, it added the C. 7 is skipped. And then for 8, all right, next I, we're done. Now we get the message box. And so this is what I was talking about right here. Now there are no spaces in between the various rows that was inside that particular array. And so that's where you're able to implement some string functions inside VBA. So let me try to summarize what we talked about here and conclude this video. In this video, we went over 2 different examples of how to use string functions inside Excel VBA. And so the first example was very simple. We learned about inString, or INSTR, and also uCase and lowcase, where it's able to manipulate text based on whatever function you use. And then we use the MSG, or the message box function, to just display the output on the screen. In the second one, a little bit more of a complicated example, we started here by dimming an array as a string, and then also 2 other variables, and we were looking at how to remove the spaces when you get the output. And so by doing that, using this for loop here and also an if then statement, we were able to go through it, remove the space, and combine the various text into one string with no spaces. So my name is Darren Thomas. I am the Director of Educational Research Techniques. Thank you for watching and take care.